abstract shapes, bumps around and takes the
Hey,
space.
Posey Gloves here, and today we're going to be covering part writing. This time we're talking about part writing with roots a third or a sixth apart. So if you wanted to go, let's say you're composing in C major, how would you do the part writing, a 4-part or 3-part part writing for going from C major to E minor? You know, that would stay diatonic. How would you do that if we were staying in root position? So the lowest note would go from C to an E. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Part writing for thirds and sixths apart, that actually isn't that bad because 2 pitch classes will be shared. In my example, we have C major, right? Let's type this out because when I say it all out loud, sometimes I lose people. So if I type in, we have C, E, G, right? And if we're going to E minor is E, G, B. And so we see here both of these have an E and a G. So it's actually pretty simple. The standard approach for root position, like the academic first go at this deal is whichever voices have E and G, share the 2 common tones. Those we keep the same, and then we just move the other ones. Here's from C to B. And so that's stepwise. And then that avoids all our any problems we would have with fifths because our fifth would be sitting still, which would be the G in this case going over. So let's go ahead and there's also one other, right? It also works for 6 because it's the inversion of the third. So if we were to go C, E, G to A minor, which is A, C, E, we again see that we have C and E. So now the root has been doubled. And so we have C and E here and C and E over here. And so we're just going to keep those notes the same. That's pretty much it. It's just easier to say it like that. Now, I list a whole bunch of additional stuff here. And there is sort of a special case here. We need to be careful about omitting the fifth in this case. And I actually explain it right here. Normally, right, the fifth, if we were going to omit a voice, or omit a chord tone, a sonority of the chord, a note of the chord, we usually keep the third, right? Because that tells us if it's major or minor. But in this case, we see that we have this doubled tone. And so we lose the quality of the chord if we don't if we don't keep the fifth. Consider our previous example of CEG to ACE, right? If I kept the C and E on both, it would just sound like I inverted the C major triad. If I left out the G, this would sound like A major the whole time. Imagine this G wasn't here. Let me get to that. Imagine the G wasn't there because we followed our doubling procedure and for whatever reason we omitted the fifth. Well, if we do that, now I've got CE, and then over here I just sort of add on an A. And so in this case, it just sounds like I've moved this third around, and we were actually on A minor the whole time. And so for this reason, when we're moving from 3 to 6, we want to watch out for the fifth, because otherwise we're not really in the chord that we are. So usually we care a lot about the third, but this is one of those cases where the fifth actually is pretty important. Otherwise, it just sounds like we're moving around a third. So yeah, so just be aware that that's pretty much what this paragraph sounds like, or not sounds like, that's what this paragraph says. And then 2 common tones and stepwise. We already talked about that. So let's go ahead and just look at some examples now. So here we're in C major. If I don't notate anything, like it's pretty much in C major. So here's C major. We've got our 1 chord. I've doubled my root, which is just good practice. You generally want to do that. And then I have my third and my fifth up here. And we're going from C major, so let's type that out. We're going from C, E, G, right? That's what's over here. And over here, we're going to F, A, C. Oh, no, we're going minor, A, C, E. So here we see, okay, yeah, F, A, C would be a fourth. That wouldn't make that much sense. So, okay, so we've got a movement of a sixth, and I am descending, so technically I'm going down a third. And so I see, okay, well, I've got my E and the C are the same. So I say, well, here's my E and here's my C. And so I keep my C the same and I keep my E the same. Now this one changes. And if it's not already clear to you, we're writing in root position. So this one has to change. This one has to be an A for this to be a root position A chord, right? A minor chord. So that one's got to change. And then we simply move this one up a half step. So it's not that bad. Pretty simple. Because our soprano voice is only moving by a half step, we don't need to worry about direct octaves or direct fifths. It's not leaping or hidden fifths or hidden octaves or anything, because it's not a leap. So we are okay. And it's moving contrary in this case anyway, so we don't care. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's go on to the next one. So you might consider typing these things out. I'm doing it just to be extra clear, but I'm hoping you can just, you've done enough chord position building. You've done enough chord building to be able to talk about chords with some degree of familiarity without having to write down everything. That's the idea anyways. So here we've got C, E, G, right? And then we're going to a minor chord in the key of C major. It's going to be E minor. So that's going to be E, G, B. We could type those out again just so we're clear. So we say, oh, look at this. And C, E, G. Okay, cool. And we say, okay, well, I look for the voices. First, I know my bass has to be a C over here because it's a C major chord. This one has to be an E over here. And then I say, okay, where's my C? Here's my C. Oh, but my C's not doubled. It's my E, my G. My bad. So I look for my E and I say, okay, keep that the same. My G stays the same. My B stays the same. No, my G stays the same. Holy cow, man. You don't realize how much you sort of twist up your words till you try explaining it out loud. So anyways, yeah. E and G are the same between these two chords. So those stay the same between the voices. And then we simply move our C down to a B because those are not the same. And now you might be wondering, like, what do these sound like? I haven't played them. So here we go. So I actually really like 1 to 3. Recently I've been more and more into it. It's very nice progression. Yeah. So those are the kinds of sounds you get out of it. Now remember, I'm doing 1 to 6 and 1 to 3 is sort of just my base case examples. But you could go from, let's say you're starting on the 2 chords. So you go up a third. So you would start on D minor, right, in the key of C major. In fact, so let's write one. So what I'm going to do is let's make this in C major, make our lives easy. And then we're not going to start on the 1 like we were saying. We are going to start on the 2. What the heck? Let's start on D and we'll go to F major. So in the key of C minor. Now we're taking this we're just picking 2. I'm just demonstrating it. You can pick any 2 chords that move by a third or a sixth so long as they're triads. And this will work. So we say, okay, this is going to be our 2 chord, and we're going to still be in C major. So this will be a D minor chord, and this is going to F. And these notes must be D and F because it's in root position. So our lowest voice has to be these notes. They could be in a lower octave or whatever, but they've got to be these notes. And this one is going to be our 4 chord, right? So we're going to go from D minor to F major. So we know D minor, that's got to have an F and an A. Oh, and these are in the wrong voice. So let's change the voice to voice 2. So we have the correct stemming. And so let's add in our next voices. So we say, some people will write out their whole bass part and then they'll write out their melody. Like that totally works too. So I'm going to, let's tackle the top voice first. So first we will go D, and so we'll put an A here, and then F, A, C. I think, actually let's fill in the D major chord first, and then we'll talk about this, because this would actually remain an A according to the method we talked about above. So I think, all right, whoops, I wanted that to be a 1 chord. I mean a 1, voice 1. So we have D, and we'll put an F and an A. I put my A here. I put my A here. So we have D, and now we need an F, right? So I'll put my F here. What the heck? So we have D, F, A. And we've doubled our third. We probably could double something better, but what the heck? We'll double the third. And so let's see if we run into any issues. So we say, okay, F, A, C. Well, we got to keep our tones that are the same. So we say, all right, well, this has to still be an A because this is D, F, A, and so A is a common tone. So we keep the A, and we keep the A up here. And we say, well, this is F, A, C. So this is also, the F's also a common tone. And so we actually keep all our notes the same except this, but now look at this. We have FA and FA. There's no fifth. So how is the listener going to know that we are not in a 2 chord still? How do they know we're now on F major? The answer is they don't. So this isn't going to work, right? By doubling the third, we've put ourselves in a position where we've not really actually changed our chord. The listener will still hear it like D minor. It still sounds like D minor. Like, listen to that. There's no oral clue. So let's copy this just so we can sort of do a comparison. Let's pick a more reasonable voicing. So we found out, well, doubling the fifth probably isn't the best idea, right? So we should probably double the root. So let's make this a D as well. Well, D, if we were to type this out, because I just feel like that's just going to be the most clear for you. This is DFA, right? And this one is FAC. And so we say, well, D is not in here, but A and C are. So we still keep F and A are. So we still keep the F and the A. But here, we need to do something with this. So we're going to move it down to the note they don't share, which is the C, right? The D and the C. So we'll just make that a C. Stepwise, nice and smooth. Check it out. Now we clearly have changed chords. Listen to this one. It does not sound like we changed chords. There's no indication. But over here, it's very clear. It's like there's a movement happening. And so various voicings will give you different results. So definitely something you want to watch out for. So your exercise, should you choose to accept it, is this. I gave you 4 keys, but you should generally just pick different keys to work in every time. I keep most of my examples in C major just because it's usually the easiest to look at an idea for the first time at. And so we say, all right, create 4 chord progressions using a 6 chord and 2 using a 3 chord. I skipped the word 2 here. Anyways, you're going to create... So there's 4 things down here, right? Each of them are going to be sort of like what we just did down here. Well, they're going to be just like what we did down there. So you're going to do one here, one here, one here, and one here. And in each one, 2 of them should include a 6 chord. So you're going to somehow get to a 6 chord. That's all I'm saying. And the other 2 should involve a 3 chord somehow. Maybe you're going to go from a 1 chord to a 3 chord. Maybe you're going to go down instead. Maybe you're going to pull a fast one and go from a 5 chord to a 3 chord. You know, whatever you want to do, just involve those chords just as sort of a criteria. And then we say create 2 chord progressions, each containing a 3-6 movement, a repeated root, and a 4-5 movement. So this is a 3-6 exercise, so it makes sense that should be included. We just talked about 4-5s, so include one of those at least, and a repeated root, which was our first lesson. And sort of, I want you to string these together into sort of a song, a chord progression. Don't worry too much about the chords you pick. That becomes the topic of harmony too, which for now, we're just not going to worry about that sort of a thing. So the chords we are picking in the order they go in, we don't care. We'll talk about that later. Right now, we're focusing on just root position writing. And then do each progression in a different key. So of these 2 larger progressions, do each one in a separate key. If you have any questions about that, let me know. Subscribe and have a blessed day.